Hi everyone, my name is Lindsey Francis and I'm an ArtsWestchester teaching artist, and today you're joining me for a virtual arts workshop on how to make birdhouses and bird feeders. So let's get to it. Let's go through some of the materials that we're going to need for this project. And these materials will vary depending on the type of bird feeder or birdhouse that you want to make. The one thing that you will definitely need is a milk jug, and that can be a gallon size or smaller, whatever that you have at home. Then you're going to have to take off all of the labels, and you're going to have to wash it out so it's nice and clean with soapy water. I went outside, I gathered a lot of different sticks and pine cones, tiny bit of string or twine, something that you can use to hang your finished bird feeder or birdhouse with. If you have permanent marker and that's how you're going to decorate, that's fine. So you'll need a variety of colors for that, or your black permanent marker. You don't want to use washable markers as this is going outside and all of your colors would bleed off of your finished design on your milk jug. I have acrylic paint for the type of paint that I'm using. Again, you don't want to use something like watercolor. If you have a tempera paint, that is okay, because we're going to be also sealing with some white glue. If you're using paint at all, you're going to need a variety of brushes and some water to rinse out your brush with, and a paper towel or anything just to wipe your brush off on as you're working. Now, since I grabbed some sticks and other fun things for decorating, I need a way to attach those. I've chosen hot glue. If you don't have hot glue, perhaps something like even a wood glue or white glue or super glue or anything like that could work. Just test that out before you get started. I also have a pair of scissors here for cutting our string with and making some other cuts into the side of the milk jug, and a straight edge knife as well, because I actually find it to be a little bit safer than trying to cut with a pair of scissors. So now that we've talked about making cuts, let's show you where some of those are going to be. First thing, go ahead and take your cap off. We're going to work with the cap first, and we need to create a hole in the top about middle to put a piece of string through so that this can hang. I'm going to use this straight edge here, holding firmly with one hand, and I'm not going to try to cut a perfect circle. What I'm going to do is just cut an X that I've drawn here in Sharpie so you can see it. Okay, so I've just cut an X into this. Now, I'm going to take a small amount of string. You really don't need a lot at all. And we are going to make a loop. So just take one end, meet with the other, and we're putting a knot at the bottom of one end. So float it around, tuck the ends through, and then move this knot as far down to the bottom as you can and pull nice and tight. Okay, simple loop. And now we're going to thread this through our cap. So we're going to make sure that the knot is in the back side here. I'm going to place this string there, and I'm just going to take just the back of a paintbrush. If you have a pencil or anything, that's fine too. I'm just going to use it to help me push this string up through to get it started. And again, pull nice and tight. Now this would probably be fine, just like this, but just to make sure, so we want to make sure that it holds, I'm going to add glue right here and pull this nice and taut and put glue around the knot of this. Okay, and then we'll put a little bit of glue on the other side too. Again, I'm using hot glue because it's going to set nice and fast for this video, and it works pretty well with all of these materials, but you can use something else that you have at home too. okay, and to be extra safe, I'm going to go ahead and add some hot glue to this top. Now remember, if you are using hot glue, you don't want to touch it until it's been cooled, right? So we're going to set this off to the side, and we're done with the cap for now. And now we're going to bring our milk jug back out. And we need to create some holes on the side. So for the feeder, we're going to want more than one hole around. We're going to want at least two. And on some milk jugs, you're going to find that there's actually a circle designed already on there. So you can go ahead and follow that right along. Okay. And there's one on this side of mine too. And what I'm going to do is, because I want the birds to be able to really get into some of the bigger birds too, not just small ones, I'm going to actually bring this down to about here. And same thing on the other side. And you can of course use a ruler if you have one, or any straight edge, but there's so many different edges already drawn into this that it's pretty simple to follow. Okay, there's two. So before we decide to make any other holes, the first thing I'm going to do is take my straight edge, and I'm going to cut this section out, and then I'm going to turn and cut this section out here. Now, if you did not have a straight edge at all for cutting, what I would suggest doing is taking a pen and putting a hole to start with your scissors, and then feeding your scissors in. Okay? And then trying to take a pair of scissors and then cutting up through. Okay? So you would have to widen the hole that way, but it would make it a little bit safer. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with this straight line, and I'm going to hold on to one section while I cut the other. And don't forget to ask for help with cutting if you need it. Okay, I'm just going to reach in and take that section that we cut out. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, so now we have two windows on the side, right there. And I think let's add smaller sections here. Maybe some of our smaller birds can hang out. But do you notice how I've left a good amount of material here? And the reason why is because we want the milk jug to remain sturdy. If the windows and the holes get too big, you're going to have very thin sides on the container itself, and it might not hold the weight of the birds or the bird seed once you put it in there. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to make a little cut. Again, I'm going to use my straight blade, and I'm just making an X like I did with the lid. And I'm going to put a stick through there for the birds to perch on. Okay, so let's make a smaller window here. Now we don't have that circle to go by, but we did cut the circle out. So if you want to do, let's say that, I would say that's actually too big. So what I'm going to do is take my scissors, cut out this circle, and use this as a template. So now I'm going to trace this. So now we're taking our straight edge again, or if you only have scissors, we're making that hole first and then going in with our scissors to cut. Okay, now we have all of our sides cut out. And I'm also going to create a perch for the smaller holes that we just made too. Okay, and that's going at the bottom of all of these holes because the bird seed's only going to be able to fill up to the bottom of this. Okay, and now we can start painting, and we will add all of the perches to the milk jug last. Okay, we want to get everything painted first. Okay. Now, my milk jug is white. If you had a see-through or clear milk jug, what I would first suggest is actually taking white paint, if you have it, and doing 1 or 2 coats of that to act as a primer, and that would work really well for you. That you don't have to use as much color, and you're going to have something that looks a little more vibrant. Okay. And now we're just going to go ahead and start painting and designing, and this is totally up to you, whatever you want to do. Okay, so thinking about design, for looking again at this finished birdhouse that I have, the first thing I actually did was not paint, but I added this roof. And how I made this was I went outside and I found a pine cone, and I just started lifting all of these pieces off like this. And then what I did, and what you'll see in the other videos, I took some glue, I put some glue right here, and I stuck it on. And I started at the lowest level and then worked my way up and layered the whole thing. And that's how we got this effect. And I also stopped eventually. I put the lid back on and then I covered that. Okay, so that's how I got that effect. And for right now, I'm going to show you something a little bit different you can do with maybe some sticks. Again, I'm using hot glue. I went and I found some small sticks that I could just cut up to a size I wanted with scissors. And then what I thought I would do is go ahead and glue these down and create a different type of roof, I guess, and decoration, you could say, with this. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, and now that I have my sticks added as a roof, what I'm going to do, I have decided, is to do kind of a similar effect of the top piece on this birdhouse I did with pine cone. So I'm going to take my lid, and we're going to permanently affix this on. So what we're going to do is add a little bit of hot glue to the inside rim. We're going to screw that on like we normally would. Just to make sure that it's on there nice and tight, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of extra glue around the base of the lid to the jug. And if you aren't using hot glue, I would suggest using tape, like a duct tape or a mailing tape, or anything like that would be perfectly fine. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start placing these little pieces all the way around and up onto the top. So you can either add the glue to that or add a little bit of glue here. Okay, we just finished decorating the top of our bird feeder, and now what we're going to do is decorate the sides, and we are going to be using acrylic paint. That's what I had here at home, and I just have a variety of brushes here, and this is really up to however you want to do it. A couple things I'm going to mention is you're going to have to do more than one coat if you're painting. Don't use watercolor because this is going outside. And if you have tempera paint, if that's what you're using, everything needs to dry, and you're going to have to seal it all with white glue, which we'll go over after it's done. That way if you put it outside, it won't all wash off if it rains. Alright, so painting is just like painting anything else. The first thing I'm going to do is start with the background color. So on my birdhouse, what I wanted the background color to be blue, so I painted that color first. And you can do multiple different types of colors, it's all up to you. And I think for this one I'm going to go with green. Okay. And I'll turn this around so you can see it a little bit better. And what I'm going to do is take my brush and I'm going to go right up until the roof there. And I'm going to just pull down. Okay. Again, if you have a clear milk jug, what you might want to do is prime it first with white paint before you begin adding your colors, because your colors will be more vibrant. I will be painting the bottom, but I'm not going to do that right now because I'm going to set it on its bottom to paint every now and then. Now on mine too, since I use sticks, I have some gapping in between. What I could do is fill that in with more sticks if I wanted, of course. The other thing that I could do is actually paint my base color before I even glue any of the sticks on. So, you know, if having the milk jug show through is something that you don't want, you might want to consider giving it some paint. Green has dried completely, and I also have put a second coat on it too, so it's nice and even all the way around. And I added some green to the bottom too. Now the next and final thing that we're going to do is add the perch to the birdhouse, and then I'll finish just doing some decoration because I want to on the outside. And after that dries, I'm just going to be taking some white glue and going over everything just to seal it. Okay, so we'll run through that kind of quickly. The stick I'm using for my perch, thicker than the ones we put on top, and it doesn't give when you bend it. You could even use something thicker like this if you want. And what I'm going to do is on the holes that we cut earlier, remember our X's here, okay? I'm going to slide the stick from one all the way through the one that we cut on the other side. And I'm just going to get it about even like this. Okay, now the reason why I've done it this way is because it'll just keep it sturdier and balanced and even as well. The other thing that I'm going to add is hot glue just around. So I'm just adding glue to the inside right by the peg too, like I did on the outside. Okay, and once that dries, it's going to be hardened and good to go. So now that we have that, what we can do is go ahead and add some green if you don't want to see the glue, to make that blend in. And the last thing that you can do is just add a little bit more decoration if you want. I think I'm going to go around my windows here and just dress them up a little bit and make them look a little bit more like real windows. Okay, so I'm just doing the last step here, which is just taking white glue and going over everything that I've painted to give it a nice protective coating and finish. Since these are going to be hanging outside, we want to make sure that we have something on these. So I'm going to go ahead and finish doing this on my whole birdhouse and bird feeder. I'm going to skip over the sticks, just going to do this where I painted. And then once this dries, we will go outside and hang them up.
Okay, now we're here in the backyard and we've hung up the feeder. I'm just going to put some seed in it. And now it's all done. If you really enjoyed this workshop or want to learn more arts activities at home, you can go to ArtsWestchester's website at artsw.org. Bye everyone.